ordinary thing. Life, God has a plan. And when you are not connected into your destiny that God has predestined, all you are doing is not of a substance. It can be of a substance to you, but it might not be a substance to what God created you for. Remember, God is created everything for himself. He created everything by himself for himself. The will that always take an upper hand and conclude the life of man is when you are in the will of God. And the will of God, you cannot just go and find it. The will of God, God has a plan how he will direct you. And I said yesterday that before you are led into the journey of your divine connection or to connect to what God has called you for, God will create a scene. Sometimes you can think that that sin has been done by evil, but it is not. And many a times I normally say and will continue to say that whatever bad thing happened, you who is a child of God, try to get a good thing out of that bad thing. A bad situation that has happened to you is not a time to regret. It is a time for you to rise up and see into it that what good thing can I get or can I learn out of this bad that has happened. You can be sacked from your job place. Sometimes you are not to be employed. You must be an employer. And yet you went and looked for a job and you are just happy that you are working. But God had created you so that you can be an employer. God will make you to be sacked. I remember one of my friends, he was working very well in a bank known as Standard Chartered Bank, and he was a human resource head of the bank in the whole nation. And then as he was ahead, then there came a time, he was a very close family friend, there came a time that the retrenchment was taking place. When the World Bank came with the issue of structural adjustment programs and people were shifted, people were reduced so that at least the effectiveness can be done and more profitability can be found in the bank and even in the government. It was a wave. So he had just gave people early retirement, trying to restructure, only for him tomorrow, after he had finished and given everybody letters, only for him to go to the work in the morning. And then he find his letter on the desk. He say, how did this? Because he did not see it coming at all. And then people were shocked because he was in a very high place. And then later, due to that he was in a very high place, even to get a job become difficult. Because to get such positions are rare. So he sat down and he said, what do I do? Then he started a survey and started a magazine known as Market Intelligence. This magazine known as Market Intelligence used to do intelligence for market for all companies, international companies, local companies. And this magazine sold so much. Even the Standard Chartered Bank were among the clients that came so that he can do a market intelligence for them. And then later, he came to realize that I was not to be employed. I was an employer. God can create a scene. That is why in where we are reading, God have just created a scene, and Saul in their family, just a mere donkey got lost. And when a donkey got lost, this donkey is what now is driving this young man to go and meet and be connected to his divine purpose. God has called him as a leader. God has created him as a king of Israel. Yet a king of Israel is just at home. A king of Israel is just with his father, looking after everything of his father, not knowing that God has called him to look over all his people Israel. So God created that scene, and that scene sent him. And when they go to look for the donkey, the story is there. Then he don't find the donkey. Go every place, he did not find the donkey. And then after he has gone, the donkey is found. After he has taken the journey to go to meet his divine connection, then the donkey is found behind him. But God does not tell him, nor their people, don't go to tell him that you people come back, the donkey is found. God still used that same purpose and to draw him until he meets his divine journey. There are so many cases where you can think that it is the devil, yet it is God. Those who know God don't blame anyone. One day, I think I was talking to my father, Apostle Mukadi, and people have just accused me badly. And when I tried to defend myself, he told me, as a leader, you don't defend yourself. As a leader, you seek to find why is this happening, so that you find yourself in a better way in the same situation. But when he was telling me this, I did not find it good, because I was so mad, I was annoyed. I said, how can people go and craft issues and go to him and tell him? But he told me, a leader, you don't defend yourself. A leader, you find the good out of the bad. I love Samson. Samson said, after he has just killed a lion and then leave it beside the road, and then later when they are going with their father to look for a wife to marry in the land of Philistine, he reached where he has killed a lion and he was just going to check the carcass of the lion, because it was during a duration of time. But when he went and found the carcass of the lion, bee has just come and made their beehive. And then the honey was there. Then he went, and the father and mother was still waiting for him. He took too long. But when he came back, he told them that out of the eater, I've gotten something to eat. Out of a lion that devours people, out of a lion that kills people, out of a lion that eats people, that eater, I have gotten me myself something to eat. He has gotten honey out of the eater. Any situation when God wants to use it, it might look bad. But let me tell you, as much as the donkey is lost, as much as the business can be going down, as much as everything, because God will use every situation to get something for you to eat. God will use it. So God normally uses situation. Number two, I said that as much as a situation has been created, God creates a solution before the situation. He goes on and speaks to Samuel. Samuel is surprising me here. In verse number 15, the Bible says, now the Lord had told Samuel in his ear the day before Saul came, saying, tomorrow about this time I will send you a man from the land of Benjamin, and you shall anoint him the commander of my people Israel, that he may save my people from the hand of Philistine. For I have looked upon my people, because their cry has come to me. Saul is looking for a lost donkey. God has prepared that situation to be an avenue or a vessel to usher him into his divine destiny, and so that he can be divinely connected to him. God has not spoke to Saul. Saul, together with his father, when he was sending Saul, his son, Kish was just sending Saul to go look for a donkey. But God on the other side has prepared a way. God made my businesses to crumble and collapse, so that I can go look for him. And after all those businesses collapsed and I went to look for him, I did not know that I'm going to look for God so that God can make me a servant so that I can be connected to him. My divine connection was lying on my business crumbling. And when I went to look for God in the temple and I committed myself, because God made it look long. Because he did not just want me to go to the temple today and then tomorrow I get a divine connection. He wanted me to walk with him during the time that me, in my mind, I'm praying unto God to make my business successful. And I committed myself to him, not knowing that that commitment he was looking for so that he can now speak to me in a better way. And he did not make that business to come up overnight, because he knew that before he educates me, before he connects to me, before I connect to him, I need time so that by the time he's connected me to him, I understand better why God made that business to crumble. He did not make it easy for Saul. He did not make it easy for Saul. Saul had looked for until, remember, their money is finished. Money is finished. Even when the servant is telling Saul that, let us go, there is a seer here. Saul is saying that, how will we even go see the seer? What is there for us to give the seer? There are things that normally happen that when God wants to connect you, he can use anything that is possible. He made the money to get finished. But before he connects you, he creates a scene. And after creating the scene, he makes the solution be known. God had known. In the third angle, God now reveal why the donkey is lost. God, when you walk through him to connect you, he will now tell you why you are passing through that situation. Hannah have cried too much. A baby is not there. Penina is celebrating every moment of her life. Anna don't know why. But after Anna has gone to the temple to cry to God, God wanted Anna to be connected to her. And when things go easy, I normally tell people that when your life is just flowing, be careful. When everything you touch just succeed. Apart from telling God, thank you, go slowly to ask God that why are they easy? Because in the things of God, God makes a lesson. Because God have no school to train you when he want to connect you divine. There is that moment where you need him. Where you need him. Let me tell you, the poor cry, the rich also cry. The cry of the rich is different from the cry of the poor. But what is common among them? They cry. The sick cry. Those who are well also cry. In the hospital, the sick are crying about their pain. But outside here, there's somebody who is well can be crying, I don't have money. So cry is common. God used that cry to connect to him. When you are still a baby in salvation is when you will be blaming everyone for everything. But the third stage of divine connection, when you are there, what will help you is when a situation arises, use that situation to ask God why. And when you ask him why, God always appears and connects to you. Sarah was childless. God used the childless of Sarah to connect Sarah to himself. Israelites were crying. God have used the cry of Israel to connect Israel to himself. And in the process of God connecting Israel to himself, Saul get connected. Some people might think that it was bad for Philistine to overcome Israel, because the Bible says that I have looked upon my people because their cry has come to me. Israel was crying. God used situations, but in the time now, he revealed why. And in many cases, if you are passing through a situation and you don't know why, God is looking how to divinely connect you to himself. It is upon you to get to know why. Try to look out of that dirty situation, that saying that somebody have wronged you.